kept bees some when I was a kid, and bees are just fascinating. But they are like everything else; they take time. So I don't do beekeeping well. I just do it. I've got about 10 or 12 now. Caught a couple swarms this year, but I'm very novice at it. I learned just about everything I know about beekeeping on YouTube. I knew some things because my dad did it when I was a kid, but a lot of the stuff that we have to deal with in beekeeping today, he didn't have to deal with then. We didn't have a lot of mites and diseases and things, and I'm very confident that a lot of the way we're farming now has caused a lot of these problems. It's caused a lot of problems with losing bees, colony collapse, things of that nature. But I still like to do bees, so I'm just going to walk through on some of the basics. There's several different types of beehives out there. Everybody's going to have what they like. Tell you how to get started? Buy you some bees. or find somebody that has bees and they're willing to give you a swarm. When I got started years ago, we have a friend that she was a beekeeper, and she had a swarm. She said, "You want them?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Come catch them." She said, "Actually, I'll catch these for you, but if we get any more, they're yours." So I did. That's what I just started doing. I wouldn't call them. So there's several different components to a beehive. This box right here typically comes in 3 depths. You have a shallow, this is a medium, and then you'll have a large. The bees will live in this. Typically what you have, if you saw this sitting out here, you would have the bottom one would be a large one. That's where the queen will do her business and raising all the other bees. And she'll go up and down through that hive, depending on how many of these you wind up with. But some people call them supers, some call them bee box, all kinds of terms. Beekeeping is just like anything else. You can talk to 10 beekeepers and you'll get 12 opinions about whatever. So it's just, they're people and they're going to do it. So I use these. This is an 8 frame. There would be a couple more. I didn't put them in here because I just wanted to show you. 8 frame and a 10 frame. 10 frame just a little wider. When these things have honey in them, they're very heavy. So most people are using, or a lot of people have switched to the 8 frame and are using a lot of mediums. The shallows are nice, but they're just kind of small. The deeps, they're really heavy. And the last day we worked bees, I was down in my back for 2 days afterwards, because you're working like this over, and it's a lot of work. A lot of fun, but it's a lot of work. So this right here would be something that they would have drawn out, and it started like this. This is just a wax foundation. Some people don't use it. The bees will make that themselves. This just gives them a head start. You can start out with nothing, and most of the time the bees will draw that out. Some people will put a little starter strip in there just to get them, hey, this is where you need to start. I use the wax foundation because it sets the size. It's already that you can buy these with a little different, the sails. You see the little stop signs on them. So the bees will use that as their pattern, and then they draw it out to that, and the little sails on the queen side of things, the queen will turn around and put her little booty back up in there, and she lays an egg in there. And in about 18 to 21 days, you got another bee. They're pretty quick. And she does that. That's all she does. She lays eggs. If she's good. If she's no good, she's inconsistent at that. But that's all that queen bee is designed to do, is lay eggs. All the other bees, they take care of the egg. She don't take care of them. She don't mama them or nothing like that. She lays an egg and moves on to the next one. Over and over and over. The other bees take care of this, and they take care of the queen. They feed her. Now, your typical bees out here they fly around. They don't go all that far, but they can go, several miles, depending on when they're pollinating. If there's nothing close, then they just keep extending their range. There again is part of the thing with when you get in a lot of cropland. a lot of chemicals being sprayed. I think that's part of the problem. We've had a lot of issues with our bees over the years. Bees are out in some farmer's field and he's spraying. If it doesn't kill them, then they bring that stuff back to their hive, and then it kind of contaminates your hive, and then one day you go out there and your bees are gone. So unlike the bees that Owen's going to talk about, they just stay right here. These guys here, they go everywhere, and which might make it hard on you if you're in a subdivision. You might not be able to be a beekeeper unless you got a place to put them, because your neighbor might not like your bees. Because if you put bees out here, they're going to pollinate everything around here. And there's bees here now. If you don't believe me, put out a little something sweet and it won't be long, they'll figure it out. And they have a real unique ability. When those bees are out flying and they find something that needs pollinating, they come back to this hive and they go in here and they do this little wiggle dance. And there again, you can look that up and you can see it on some of the where they videoed it. That bee will come in there and do these wiggles, and it will give direction to the other bees where the stuff that they need to go pollinate is. It's amazing how they communicate. Bees are really amazing. So anyway, this would be your board. This right here is the bottom. And for most people nowadays, we're using a screened bottom. This was not a thing when I was a kid. It was always a solid bottom. But with the growing problem of mites and tracheal mites and hive beetles and things like that, a lot of stuff can come and fall down through your bees will try to keep a lot of that stuff under control. And if they can push it down, and this is up off the ground, it'll push out eggs, mites, and things of that nature. So this has become very popular. This here would be the landing board. That would sit on top, and when your bees will come in and out, they'll land on here and walk inside. Another unique thing about the bees is they got little bees in here that are guarding the door. If it's a good strong hive, they won't let bees in from another hive. You're not welcome in here. You don't live here. They know each other. I don't know if it's their wiggle dance or what, but they know each other, and they don't allow each other in. Now, if it's a weak hive, then other bees might come in and they not be able to, keep them under control. So this would be your bottom. You put your frame on that, and you just have a top cover that goes over it. Pretty simple. Just a few tools. Hive Tool, Beekeeper Tool. Looks kind of like a nail bar. This thing right here is handy for a lot of stuff when you're working bees. You can use it to pry. You can use this here. These bees will seal everything. So right here on top, propolis. They get it from the trees, and it's sticky. So they seal everything in this hive. When you get ready to, if you hadn't been in it in a while, you'll need something like this to get it open, because they have sealed everything. These frames, they'll all be sealed right in. If you don't have a tool, I've used a screwdriver. I've broke a few pocket knives. You need something to get in it with. If you have multiple boxes, they'll be sealed together. If you need to take one off, you'll have to have something to pry it open. It's just a little tool. This here is a quart jar feeder. You can put a quart jar, so a lot of people feed their bees. Some people don't. I don't feed mine very much unless I'm thinking they need it. The only reason I do feed some in the spring is we don't treat with anything. We don't treat for mites, any of that stuff. So I will feed my bees, and I'll use a little concoction that if you look up the Fat Bee Man, he's all about essential oils. So we use some essential oils in a sugar water and feed the bees. We only do that in the spring before the honey flow starts, because you don't want your honey to taste like tea tree oil, lemongrass. So you only do that when there's not a honey flow going on. But there's several different types of feeders. This is a pretty simple one.
A note about lemongrass. Bees love it. My daughter put it in her car vents. She had bees flocking in her car. Be cautious about
Yes,
potential oils
they
from bees. She can figure out why they're trying to
it's
figure it out.
lemongrass, not lemon oil, lemongrass oil.
Grass, yeah.
So this right here, you put a quart jar on it. The jar would have little holes in it. You turn it upside down, builds suction, and it just sets it on the front like that right there. So the bees that are here, they come in, they would eat from, they go underneath here, and they get the sugar water off of the. There's multiple different types of feeders. This is another one. This would be a top feeder. You would put your sugar water in, and it would sit on here, and then the bees access it from inside the hive. They go up through this hole. Just another type of feeder. There's more and more out there. People are always coming up with some kind of idea, and they're trying it out. This is another little tool that it's nice to have. It's not always something you need, but it's nice because when you're working in this thing here, you can reach down and grab this and pick it up. And if they're heavy, if they're really stuck in there, they're hard to get out, so you can hold it with this and take your tool and work it loose. That's a basic hive. Not that much to it. Now, like I said, there's several different other hives out there, and everybody always wants to know about the flow hive. You know, the one you just pop the valve on and get the honey out. They're too expensive. I never owned one, so I don't know. I don't do it that way. But that's a simple hive.
You want to put it on the table here, or you have a flat surface?
There we go. So this would be the inner cover, and then the top goes on there. Not much to them. Usually you keep them about 10 to 12 inches off the ground. Yeah, you have ant problems, you have mice problems in the winter. Usually, if we're going to have any issues in the winter months, I've got that little closer right there. So we would put this on and reduce this down like this. See, you just got a small hole. In the winter, when the bees are not flying as much, they're not always down here. They're kind of clustered up. So this gives them a lot less area to have to protect. And this right here, mice will get in there in the winter when it's cold. And this is a nice place to go in there and make a bed. This right here kind of discourages that a little bit. It's just, then this thing here, if you can turn it the other way, and it can shut it off completely. And if you want to move this, that's what you would need to do to move it.